Just kind of tell me a little bit about what you think is your favorite part of it every day.
Every day, I get a chance to tell a story. Sometimes, there's most of the time, it's not new content because what we normally do is we take a story at 6 o'clock and read it in our grade book show. But we get a chance to tell a story every single day, regardless whether it's happy, whether it's bad. Typically for anchoring, it's one of those things that, how to describe it? Think of how to describe it. It's something that impacts, as long as we can tell something that impacts the community, I think that's my favorite part about it. When I used to report more, what I used to love about reporting is shooting, because I used to tell my stories from a very visual standpoint, and I love writing, the writing aspect of it too, so that's one of my favorite parts about reporting. And anchoring, I love telling the story on the desk and being able to connect with people when I'm on there. I mean, me and my co-anchor really try to have fun with it. So when we're on the desk, we're having fun and we're telling the story. So that's my favorite part: telling the stories and shooting.
So if you had to compare anchoring and reporting, what do you think would be the most standout difference?
Oh, goodness. The biggest difference to me is that when you're out reporting, you have to, let me break it down. When you're in a market like Macon, you're a one-man band and you're an MJ. Mm-hmm. So you get a chance to not only write the story, but you're editing the story, you're shooting the story, you're pitching the story, you're going out, finding these stories. I mean, every single thing about that story is yours. So when you're in a small market, you have that creative luxury. And when you're anchoring, wait a minute, I just missed the question. What was the question again?
I said, what would be the most standout difference?
Oh, the biggest difference, yeah. Well, the biggest difference is when you're reporting, you're getting the story. But, everything about that story you're getting. You have the luxury of, writing, editing, and getting that story. When you're on the desk, normally a reporter has gotten that story. I mean, when you're a small market, you may have gotten the story too, but you're telling that story on the desk. So it's almost like when you're reporting you have the creative luxury of actually getting the story. You're more involved. How about that? That's a better word to say it. You're more involved, but that doesn't mean you're not involved as an anchor. It just means you haven't gotten the chance to, maybe go shoot the story or go write the story or edit the story yourself. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. So do you find yourself less connected? Because I know just like from when we do News Source in class, which is really, besides my internship, which is just sports reporting, what I have to go off of, do you find yourself less connected from this story? Because I know when I anchored, I would find myself less connected from different stories that I necessarily didn't pitch or, weren't things that I wrote.
That's a good question. I wouldn't say I find myself less connected. I would say no matter what the story is, no matter if I shot it, no matter if I wrote it, no matter if someone else wrote it, I make it my business to be connected to it, because if I'm not, it will show on air that I'm not connected to it. I try to, regardless, I try to show favoritism to any story I do. Say, for example, if I really, really like a story that I did, and I get a chance to read on the desk if I shot it as a reporter, or if somebody else shot it as a reporter, and I read it on the desk, then I try to still be connected to it. So, because what I do is I report and anchor. So, if someone else does a story of of course, it's not my story, but on the desk reading it as an anchor, I still have to feel connected to it.
So how do you make the connection? Like, what do you do to invest yourself in it?
Well, the good thing about anchoring is that when you're reading over scripts, you're able to change things to the way you would say it. Mm-hmm. So if somebody else wrote the script, you write it, you can still rewrite it, you can still edit it. You shouldn't marry to the words that somebody else writes. You shouldn't be married to that. So if you want to write it and say it in your voice, that's one way of feeling connected to it, because now I'm rewriting something that somebody else wrote, still telling the same story, but just in my words. Another way I like to feel connected to it is I try to really not put myself into the story, because you should never want to be the story. You just want to tell the story. Right. But, have some empathy in your voice. Kind of connect to whatever you're saying at that moment. And I think a lot of times, regardless if you're connected or not, the viewer is going to tell, man, she really enjoyed reading that story because of the way she read it, or she didn't too much care for that story because, she just kind of blew it off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's okay to rewrite things. It's okay to tweak things. It's okay to make it your own. Because if it's not your own, then you'll never really feel connected to it regardless.
Right. So that's good advice and a good point. I never think to rewrite something just in general, because it's like, okay. And we do modular for news source, so it's like, oh, I'm ready to get it over with, go home, because it's like you're right all day. So it's good advice to take. Tell me how you start your day, like from start to finish. What time you wake up? How does your day go?
Okay, so this is my typical day. So wake up 2:30, get to work around 3:30. Sometimes I try to be there a little earlier, 3:15. I start off with radio. So I record a radio ad for one of our local radio partners that are here in Macon. And then after that, typically read over scripts with my co-anchor. He reads his at his desk, I read mine. We have 4 30-minute shows. So in total, we're on air for 2 hours in the morning from 5 o'clock until 6:30. So we read over our scripts. We write teases. Typically, our producer stacks the show. So when we come in, our responsibility is literally radio, teases, and cut-ins. Mm-hmm. So after I've written my teases, I read over all the scripts. Most of the time, the scripts are maybe information from yesterday at the 6 p.m. show, 11 p.m., or 10 p.m. show from the previous day, with some new content, So a little bit more new content, maybe social media segment, stuff like that, different like fun day break segments. And then after we read over everything, we're done with 6:30. So then around 7:10, I'd say 7:15, we do cut-ins, and basically cut-ins are when you record little short news segments or news clips. I'm not sure. Do you know what cut-ins are?
Yeah, I know what cut-ins are.
Okay. Well, yeah, we just record the cut-ins, and then after that, we typically have a meeting, a post-show meeting that everybody attends, from the director to the producer, production crew, news crew. Everybody attends post-show meeting. So then after the post-show meeting, talk about the day, what happened, what didn't happen, what we could have done better. And then I normally take a break, and then I come back for our 41 Today show, because unlike Sean, my co-anchor do, sometimes we split this responsibility, but most of the time I anchored our midday show as well. So after our 41 Today, and our 41 Today show, that comes on at 11, our midday show. So I try to write the interview. This is more of a more of an interview type show, so we try to have like a lot of interviews, live interviews in the studio interviews or live shots or whatever. It just depends on what we have for that day. Normally it's one of those shows where we try to have a cover story for it and then go through an interview. So I write the interview for that, and after we're done with 41 Today, we have a post show, and normally before I leave I try to make some calls, whether it be beat calls or whether it be interview calls for either Daybreak or 41 Today, and I try to find some stories to pitch to the reporters for the next day. Now, most of the stories I pitch, I can't lie, I try to do them because I try to do it all. but I do try to contribute to the pitch meetings in the morning. And when I do get a chance to do that, it works out pretty well. But sometimes I don't always get a chance to make pitch or beat calls. So most of the time, that's typically how the day goes, and I kind of wrap up around 12:30. Now, there's some exceptions, like, for example, yesterday, after I did Daybreak, which ended at 6:30, I went and got some equipment and covered a murder trial in Pulaski County. So I was able to anchor that day and then go get some equipment and go out and report. And I turned a story for the 6th. Mind you, my day was really long yesterday because I had to turn a story and I had to stay till 6 o'clock to front the story and everything. But most of the time, my day doesn't go like that. It's normally till 12:30. So that's my typical day. And then after that, I mean, whatever I want to do for the day, and then I go to sleep and I do it all over again tomorrow. But every day's different.
So this is something that I think has, I don't know, since being in News Source and kind of having my internship, you hear about unpredictable hours, but, you know, like, things don't hit you until you do it yourself. Right. So I think about it often now about, like, well, what am I going to do if I work in this business? How am I going to be, like, an active part of a family unit and an active part in, like, a future child's life? So what daily struggles, or, like, do you go with any? Because I feel like that's what I think about most often now is this something I really want to do? Because can I afford to, like, take that loss, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So basically, like, how are you going to be able to have a family? How are you going to be able to have a life?
Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, and this is something my mentors have told me over the years, and it's something I'm living with right now. I mean, especially working on morning. Now, I'll put it in two perspectives. Number one, when you get out of college, unless, like, the heavens fall upon your life, like, you're going to work in a small market.
Right. And
small markets have their struggles. Now, one thing I've learned since working in a small market is that, especially, I don't have any kids. I don't really have any responsibilities other than myself right now. So I'm making that sacrifice, to get to a bigger market.
Right.
And once I get in a bigger market, I'll have more of a secure position. I'll have a more secure time frame, and I'll be a little bit more stable when it comes to my time management. But right now, I can't lie. It's very, very, very hard to have a life working my shift, especially because, 12:30, I get off at 12:30. Well, no one's off at 12:30 except for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Me, my co-anchor, and a few other people that, that have the same schedule I have. But it's hard to have a life right now. But say, for example, if you get in a higher market and it's a little bit more secure in terms of, where you'll be staying. Because here, you start off in a small market and you sign maybe a 2-year contract or a 2.5-year contract. Then you're trying to get out the door after that 2.5 years. So once you get to a higher market, it's easier to have more of a life, more stability when it comes to time management. Right now, I mean, if they really needed me right now, I mean, they call me in. Hey, we need to do this, do that, and the third. If I need to stay later, I'd probably wind up having to stay later. it's just the sacrifices you kind of have to make right now.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of my mentors have told me, it gets easier. It gets a lot easier once you get higher up, higher market. I mean, the job itself is very stressful. I can't lie. Sometimes it causes a lot of stress. But if it's something you really want to do, and if it's something that, makes you, want to get up at 2 in the morning and go on air and find stories and tell stories and want to be in that, kind of realm, then you'll make that sacrifice.
Did you ever imagine going or moving so quickly, like from becoming a reporter to an anchor?
No.
You didn't?
No. No, I didn't. I did not think that I was going to do that. When I came to Macon, I came fresh out of college, I started interning, and then when I interned, I literally just tried to soak up everything, everything I could. And I wasn't expecting to enter in the small market either, because I had an opportunity to intern in a larger market, but someone told me, listen, intern wherever you want, but understand you've already graduated and you need a job ASAP.
Yeah.
And I took a risk. I moved to Macon right after, interned, and worked my way up. I went to reporter, and then I filled in anchor when our Sunday night anchor left. When she left, I started filling in. Because I asked for the opportunity. I said, listen, I really want to try it out. Just kind of help me along the way. My news director, thankfully, we have a really good relationship. We have our ups and our downs, but nevertheless, my news director, we understand each other. We love to hate each other, but at the end of the day, my news director and I, we have a good understanding, and he always gives me a chance to try. Mm-hmm. If I fail, I fail, but he always lets me try something. And he let me try Sunday night. So I started with Sunday night. So then when the opportunity came for a full-time anchoring position, it was kind of one of those things where he wanted me and another co-worker, Sean. He liked our chemistry, so he just wanted to try us out. We did a little trial run, and then after that, he offered us the position. He said, do you guys want to be the daybreak anchors? You won't get a chance to report as much, but nevertheless, you'll still get to contribute to the 6 p.m. You'll still be able to shoot stories, write stories, edit stories, and you'll have a chance to anchor. And I said, you know what? Why not? But the thing about it was I had to sign a longer contract, so I'm going to be here longer than I expected, but at the end of the day, the opportunity is what it's all about, because 23 years old, jumping from report to anchor, getting able to do all this, plus more, I couldn't ask for anything right now more than that. So I just think it's a blessing.
Okay, and last question is, what do you think would be a key point of advice for, like, I'm getting ready to graduate, I'm kind of at a crossroads with, do I want to do this or do I not want to do it? What do you think would be something to keep with me?
What would I say? I don't know if this is the best advice, but honestly, all I can say is trust yourself. If there's something you really like about this business, and if it's something that you went to school for and you have a good opportunity to do it, find out. Because at the end of the day, you're about to graduate, Lonnie, and it's about taking a risk. I took a risk. I graduated with a PR degree, and minored in journalism. I didn't expect to be a journalist after I graduated. I didn't know what I wanted to do after I graduated. Matter of fact, I didn't know where I was going really after I graduated college. I did not. And the thing about it is that because you're young, you're able to take these risks. So I would say find out if you really want to. If you can, get a job right out of college and say you do it for, a year and a half. And if you don't like it, okay, you don't like it. Wow, you found out that you don't like it, okay?
Right.
But if you do it and you find out you love it, then you took a risk and you were able to find out something and find your passion. And that's what it's about. That's what life's about. That's what college was about. That's what, getting out into the real world is about. Because no one ever has the answer to what they really want to do. Because if you had the option to try everything, wouldn't you want to try everything?
Yeah. It's just,
and figure out what you really love?
Yeah.
Exactly. So find out if you like it. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But at least you know.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. That's the best thing I can take from somebody who graduated out of college. Because if I never tried it, I would have never known. If I never took that risk, I would have never known how much I loved it. So take a risk, take a chance, make a change. It'd be very corny.